Hi, I'm Nick Casale. I've been an instructor here at Musicians Institute for over 10 years now, where I teach a series of core and elective classes on Adobe software, as well as graphic and web design. While it's always beneficial, no art or design experience is required for anything that we're about to talk about. Again, these are beginner tips. And of course, if you want to find out any more about me or my work, feel free to check me out on my website, Instagram, YouTube, any of these places up here. Feel free to reach out and say hi. And of course, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Anyways, enough about that. Let's get started. So this video is all about hierarchy, and in art and design, hierarchy usually refers to the order of visual importance. It's what we look at first, second, third, and so on. We experience this every day of our lives with everything from a thumbnail on Netflix to something on YouTube to a movie poster, you name it. Anything visual typically draws us into a focal point, and then our eye starts to kind of move through that design one little piece at a time. And that's basically what hierarchy is all about. It's crucial to our designs, and it's something that even as beginners we can start to take a little bit of control over. Let's take a look at this poster here, and just take a second and really think, like, what did I look at first? And then what did I look at second and third, and so on. That is hierarchy right there. We need it in everything that we create. In fact, let's take a look at a flyer here. And this is an example. Again, it's just a simple flyer. An example of what can go horribly wrong when something has little to no hierarchy. We don't really know where to look. Our eyes get a little confused, and we tend to disengage and just kind of move on to something else immediately. But let's take the exact same flyer, apply a little bit of hierarchy to it, just simple stuff that we can all start doing immediately. And all of a sudden, it's so much easier to look at. Our eye knows where to go. It's pleasing to read. It's so much easier to digest, and it's just a much better experience for the viewer across the board. So I think even from that example, you can really start to see some of the tricks that we can incorporate into our projects to help create that hierarchy. And let's just start really simple with an obvious one: text size. The bigger that text is, the more important it's going to appear. The smaller it is, the less important it's going to appear. So when you're designing things, whatever that piece of information that you want to be the focal point, usually, artist name, band name, go big with that thing. Put it at the top of your flyer. Really help it stand out. And the secondary information, like the address of the club you're playing or the cover charge, make sure that's smaller, kind of down towards the bottom. And that really goes hand in hand with visual weight or font thickness. And if you've ever switched a font from regular to bold, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Visual weight, which is really easy to play around with. A lot of fonts have multiple versions like that. Go bold with those things you really want to stand out. And if there's something there that you want to kind of fall into the background a bit more, pick a thinner version of that font, make it a little bit smaller. Then, of course, maybe kind of put it down towards the bottom. And speaking of the bottom, I think something that also can be really helpful for beginners when you're deciding how you want these things to be laid out is just to simply think of an upside down triangle. Bigger at the top, smaller at the bottom, and just kind of have that in the back of your head as just a general guide for things. I think that can be pretty helpful. Finally, last part of hierarchy, which is a little bit trickier than some of these other ones, or at least more complicated than just picking a bigger font size, is really paying attention to color and contrast. So I've got, again, another little flyer here, pretty simple, but in this case, color and contrast is really not doing this thing any favors. The text really isn't standing out. We're not getting a lot of hierarchy. And this is a pretty common mistake that I see a lot. So just a couple things to keep in the back of your head when you're designing, and then we're going to wrap things up. If the background of your flyer is dark, black, for example, make sure that the text that you're creating is really bright. White is an obvious choice, but you can also use color, just make sure it's bright. And then on the opposite side of things, if the background of your flyer is really bright, like a white background, make sure that your text is dark. Black, again, obvious choice. Just be careful of that middle ground, where if the background of your flyer is kind of a blue that's not super dark or super light, avoid using text that's also kind of in that same place. It can really negatively impact things, and not just in terms of visual appeal, but of course also the hierarchy as well. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Hope you found some of these tips useful. These are really just a taste of some of the things that we get into in MI's visual media core and elective classes. I'm sure you know this, but music industry these days requires a lot of work and more than just great music to find success. And these classes are all about giving musicians of all backgrounds the fundamental art and design skills that they need to compete in the real world. Feel free to leave a comment below if there's any questions or if you want to see something in a future video. And again, thanks for watching. I hope to see you soon in classes either online or in our campus in Hollywood.